Fox 10 News and Now Stream. I am now joined by criminal defense attorney Russ Richelsoff. So thanks so much for coming and giving us a little insight. Once again, we all have OJ fever.
We do have OJ fever. OJ fever is back.
Yeah. So the parole hearing today. He already had it in 2013. Mm-hmm. What can we expect today?
So today, what's going to happen is they're going to. The board's going to hear from his representative. They're going to have an opportunity. OJ is going to have an opportunity to actually speak on his own behalf. The board probably has already considered any letters that were written on his behalf, as well as letters from victims with regards to this particular case. The board will then I expect the board will then go into what's called an executive session.
Okay.
They'll leave the room. They'll privately deliberate over what the outcome should be, and then they'll come back, and I expect they'll give a decision today. They're specifically having 4 people. The board is made up of 7 people. Mm-hmm. They have to have a majority. So they actually went out of their way today to have 4 people so they could just get the decision done and move on with their lives.
Now, is it common to have a decision on the same day that they have the hearing, or are they just trying to get rid of the circus-like atmosphere?
I don't know historically how the Nevada Parole Board has done it. I know that in the previous parole hearing that OJ had, they only had 2 members present.
Okay.
And I guess the other members were present virtually, and they ended up giving a delayed decision. They gave their decision 2 weeks later.
I gotcha.
And I guess there was so much media anticipation, the Nevada Parole Board decided we'll get our 4 members there. These commission members this isn't like their full-time job. They do other things, and they're appointed to do this as, a public service. So they went out of their way to have 4 members present so that if those 4 members make a unanimous decision, they can render a decision today. They've also said that if the 4 members are not unanimous, there's 2 other members available by telephone that they'll get on the phone and get them to vote. So hopefully they can come up with a majority decision. If the members tie 3-3, because there's 7 members, but one of them hasn't started.
Okay, so they'd be deadlocked.
Yeah, so if it's 3-3, they're deadlocked, and OJ will have to come back and give it another try at a later date.
Wow. So that could be a factor as well? I mean,
it could be a factor. Based on everything that I know, I expect that OJ is going to get paroled.
Okay. All right. And a lot of our viewers there were also mentioning that they're leaning on that prediction as well.
Yeah.
Just because of the past parole hearing, and they were able to grant him.
There's a bunch of factors that the parole board is that they're supposed to look at, and part of that is what has his behavior been like while he's been in prison. And his behavior has been apparently exemplary. There's been no reports that he's been written up for any incidents. His age is also a factor, and I believe
70
he's,
now.
Yeah, is he 70 or is he almost 70? He's very close to 70. So that's a factor as well.
Okay, so they'll look into even the age factor as well.
Yeah.
All right, and how long do you think this could possibly go? 20 to 30 minutes as far as the actual hearing, and then I don't know how long they'll deliberate, but
I would expect. I mean, my guess would be the hearing would go about 30 minutes. They'll leave, they'll deliberate, we'll wait, and because they're only making a decision with regards to one individual today, there's no other inmates on the schedule. I would expect they'll come to a decision relatively quickly. That's my expectation.
Now, will we hear OJ speak, or did he already maybe just type something up with his lawyer, or will we actually hear him speak, do you think?
I expect we're going to hear him speak. I would be very surprised if he didn't speak. If I was his lawyer, I would have spent time preparing him to make a statement and having him definitely make a statement. In these kinds of hearings, it's very important for the decision makers to hear from the inmate, and know that yes, he's remorseful for what he did. Yes, here are the things that he's done to change his ways while he was in prison. Here are the lessons that he's learned while he's been in prison, and here's his plans for the future.
Sure.
That's really important that they hear what his plans are for the future, how he's going to integrate back into whatever community he goes back to live with. They're going to want to hear that he's going to remain law-abiding.
Yes.
So all of those things. So it is in this kind of hearing, it is very important to hear from the inmate and hear what they have to say.
And how would you get your client ready for this hearing? I mean, I could just imagine he's going through a mix of nerves.
I usually have a format that I have my clients follow. So that format typically is kind of move from the present. Hi, my name is, here's who I am. Talk about the past, and then usually I have them end with the future. I always like them to end on a positive note and talk about the future in a positive way. Okay.
And also, forgot what I was going to say. Oh, when he was sentenced back in 2008. Did you think that sentence was too harsh? Or was it too big for his counts, or was that kind of right in line of what you would see in those type of cases?
Again, I don't practice in Nevada, so I don't know what the what's normal in Nevada, but we do with regards to this weapons charge, and that's the charge.
That's the big one, right?
He was convicted of multiple counts. He's already been granted parole on the lesser counts. So now, if he's granted parole on the weapons charge, he will actually be released on October 1st is when he would be scheduled to get out. The sentencing judge in the case gave a huge range. I find it interesting that the sentence, OJ was given the 33 years was a very long sentence for this type of charge. But then the 9-year bottom end of the range, gave him an opportunity to be here today and to, argue for his release.
Definitely. And he had this day marked on his calendar. I mean, he's been waiting for this for, if you think about it, 9 years now. So I could just imagine what he's thinking, what his team is thinking as well. And there was also reports that maybe even up to 15 people are going to be in Lovelock with him, as far as his attorney and friends as well.
Present with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that all unfolds. Like we said, we're less than 15 minutes away from it starting, so it should be interesting to see what we are going to have to hear in the testimony. So that'll be interesting. But you think there's a real solid chance?
Yeah. The reason why, one of the purposes of parole is to give inmates an incentive to behave themselves. It's a lot easier when the inmates have an incentive to be good for them to get them to behave.
Yes.
And it makes the prison more orderly. It's easier on the staff. It's cheaper. There's a whole bunch of benefits that cascade from giving somebody an incentive to behave well. You reward their good behavior. And based on what I know about his reported behavior in prison, it sounds like he's been doing really well. He's been doing everything that he's supposed to be doing, and he's, getting along with everybody. He hasn't had write-ups, hasn't had discipline issues. So that's a very favorable thing in his benefit.
Okay, and lastly, right before we went on, we were talking about how during the trial of the century, after that, when you started to practice law, that was almost that was used as the model, right? As far as a lot of in the classrooms.
It's funny because in contemplating being here today and getting ready for this hearing, his trial took place. I started law school in 1996, and his trial took place before law school. It was something in law school that we had all seen, the OJ trial.
Yes.
So when the law school professors taught us, law, a lot of things were in reference to the OJ trial, just because we had all seen it.
Yeah.
It was kind of a common point of reference. So it's interesting to be back here at a very different place in my career. 20 years later.
Yeah.
Still talking about OJ.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, we're still. You would have thought though, when he was acquitted though, that he maybe wouldn't even have left his house ever, just because he would want to play straight by the book. And then when that happened, then in 2007, you're like, wow.
Yeah, it was surprising, and it makes you wonder, did that trial have an effect on him?
Yeah.
Or did that trial perhaps reveal his true character, and then this other thing
Sure.
happened and he got in trouble for that? So it's hard to know, but he's managed to behave himself in prison.
Yes.
So he's demonstrated that he can be law-abiding and he can follow the rules, and hopefully that turns into good news for him today.
Yes.
And he'll be released back into the community. What's interesting to note, though, is that he's going to, if he gets paroled today, he's not off the hook. He's going to be on community supervision. He's going to be on parole for the remainder of the sentence.
Okay.
So 33 years. That would be
that's life, really.
24 more years that he would be on parole, and given his age.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably life. So they could dictate. I mean, the state of Nevada could dictate where he lives, who he associates with, what he's allowed to do, where he's allowed to go.
Okay.
So he's not going to necessarily be free.
No.
And
the Goldman family is still trying to collect from the civil lawsuit as well. So
they are still trying to collect from the civil lawsuit. What's interesting, though, is that the parole board is not permitted to consider other crimes with regards to this parole hearing.
Okay. Especially
because he was acquitted of the murder charges. That can't be considered under the eyes of the law. He was found not guilty,
mm-hmm.
and it's not to be considered, despite what anybody's personal opinion may be about it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's a great point. Well, Russ, we do appreciate you coming by and providing your insight as we get everybody ready for the OJ saga continues. Who would have thought it? Like you said, 20 years later, still talking about it. But thank you so much for your insight, and we appreciate you coming. And we'll take you right now to the hearing where